A pleasant afternoon, everyone. Our life is indeed a kaleidoscope. We have our yay days and, of course, our lows. So, how do we go about coping and living? This afternoon, we have the answers for you. This is the 13th episode of NOLITC Cares webinar. This is a GAD project of the province of Negros Occidental, focusing on the promotion of self-care and mental health during this pandemic in collaboration with TUPV Hearticulate Psychological Center.
Many of us grew up believing people who took their lives were crazy, selfish, or morally defective. Or we sometimes undermine other people's struggles by assuming that it is normal for people to have problems, hence putting them into blind spots. The lack of awareness of insight or insights of other people's feelings. It is our human tendency to avoid what is hard and difficult. So, how did we get to this point where emotions and thoughts become too painful and unbearable? This talk will give us insights about the warning signs of suicide. If we are willing to ask uncomfortable questions and have difficult conversations, for sure, fewer people in our lives will die by suicide.
Your present situation or current feelings do not define who you are. Your lowest moments will not hinder you from reaching the heights you were called to. And in the highs and lows of it all, you are still being led to where you were meant to be. These are the words that we all wanted to hear. And at times, when we hear the opposite, we tend to feel down and weary. This talk will remind us that we are far from finished yet. Terrifying, maybe, but it can also be a wonderful thing. We encourage you, and because we still have the chance to become what or who we were meant to be. So today, join our discussion and with our featured speaker from Hearticulate Psychological Center. We encourage you to listen, participate, and engage through your comments and reactions in our Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Hi there again, and I am Omega Armigas, and I am your host. In this 13th episode of NOLITC Cares webinar, we shall have an open discussion about suicide awareness and prevention. Warm greetings to all of our friends, our Facebook friends, and also warm greetings to all our YouTube friends who are watching us live. Before we begin, we just have a few house rules to ensure that we have a smooth flow. Firstly, fill out the online attendance right now. The link to the online attendance form is pinned in the description box, or you may scan the QR code on your screen right now. If you have the questions about the topic, the easiest way to let us know is to post in our online open forum, which can be found in the description box below. Alternatively, you may place your questions in the comment section as well. Feel free to post some insights in there as well. The moderator will bring them up towards the end of the presentation. Please do not hesitate to engage and interact by using our virtual reactions, or you can leave a comment at any time. We don't want to try that out right now. Why don't we try that out right now? Tell us how excited you are to learn in this webinar. Yeah, so can you click like button? You can also click the heart reactions if you want. You will also be receiving a certificate for attending this webinar. You only need to accomplish the online evaluation of the webinar. And again, that can be found in the description box below. And you may also scan the QR code being flashed on your screen. But last but not the least, invite your peers, your colleagues, and loved ones to join in this webinar. I hope you are catching up with me with some of our opening reminders. Thank you. If you can speak, you can influence. If you can influence, you can change lives. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce to you our special guest speaker for this afternoon's webinar. Our expert speaker is a registered psychometrician, and she is working as a guidance counselor by profession. She is also the president of JCI Negros Occidental Chapter. As the founder of Blooming Life Possibilities, she focuses on helping people through transitions. Without further ado, let us welcome to our virtual podium Dr. Donalyn Guerrero Lastima.
Thank you very much, Miss Omega. I really like your name. No? It reminds me of someone close to me. Thank you very much, Nolitsi. Doc Tina, who is, of course, not virtually with us, but I'm sure she's with us in spirit. Of course, my friend Sally and my friend Red. Thank you for having me and for giving me this opportunity to share what I've experienced as a counselor in dealing or managing clients or yeah, students who had in once in their lives not only thinking about suicide but also harming themselves, no, in the process. This is quite a a very serious topic, but I hope that you will learn along the way. And when you have any questions, if there are, triggers that you might feel along the process of our discussion, please feel free to send us a message later on during the discussion. All right, so yun. But anyways, good afternoon, everyone. Maayong hapon. It's nice to be back. It's been, pila na nika times, gani ma'am said, it's been I think this is the second to the last topic that I'll be handling in NOLITC mental health forum. So right, so I'm so privileged to be here. Okay, so I think our PowerPoint is ready. I'll be sharing now, Mamsel. All right. Okay. Please give me a heads up if you can now see my screen. Yes, Ma'am Sally, Miss Omega. All right.
Yes,
So I
that one.
like to
Yes.
assume, yeah, none. Now you can see there in my slide, the first you can see a symbol. No, that's a semicolon. Semicolon. Our topic is your story isn't over yet. Okay. So semicolon has a meaning. Later on, I will explain to you. And this theme, actually, your story isn't over yet. Usually, it's being used. No, when topics lurks around suicide or management, suicide awareness, and suicide prevention. All right. So let's take a look at the statistics. I'm sure you've seen a lot of this um, in different social platforms, but this one is from the World Health Organization. It says here when we try to look at the global suicide statistics in 2021, an estimated number of 703,000 people die by suicide worldwide every year. So that's quite a lot of number. And when we try to, kung gamay-gamayon natin sila ang statistics, no, how would we imagine a person who would die by suicide? No, every 40 seconds, according to World Health Organization, every 40 seconds someone dies by suicide. So like when we try to count 40 seconds starting from this moment, no, record shows or World Health Organization record data shows that a person would die by suicide every 40 seconds. And actually, when we try to look at the statistics, especially when it comes to developmental stage, right? No, so in also World Health Organization that data shows that suicide is the second leading cause of death among 15 to 29 years old. Why is it 15 to 29 years old, no? So 15 to 29 years old, diin kamo da nga age group, no? Are you along the bracket of this group? So most likely amo nang gagawa sa statistics or sa records. Moving on. Actually, kung i-compare naton, no, bata or tigulang or babae or lalaki, diin ang mas more likely, no, to die by suicide. According to World Health Organization, still, no, the global suicide rate is over twice as high among men than women. So when we say twice as high among men, mas damo ang lalaki kaysa babae based on statistics. And over half, or let's say 58% of all the deaths by suicide occur before the age of 50 years old. So, like, when we try to look, ting-tigulang naga-commitment sila, or ang, no, sorry for the word tigulang, but the person nga naga-edad, no, nagkakapatay man sila by suicide, yes. And most of them would likely die by suicide because of various factors. One is ang ilang nga ginabatsyag, no, especially if the disease or ang illness nga ang ara sa ila lawas, no, wala na sang treatment, no. So some people would likely, no, die by suicide or think of harming themselves. Suicide occurs across all regions in the world. However, over three quarters or 77% of global suicides in 2019 occurred in low and middle income countries. And when we try to examine, or when we try to look further, no, is COVID-19 pandemic contributed to the cases of suicide? Actually, no, research shows that yes, it has. No, the COVID-19 pandemic actually contributed a lot to the number of cases of suicide, especially it during the time, no, sang lockdown, no, because people has damo, no, grabe ang challenge on their mental state. Okay, so this is according to the study conducted by in 2021, and this study examines suicide occurrence in the context of COVID-19 pandemic, so in different countries. So results shows that the primary analysis showed that broadly consistent picture, no, the high income and the middle income countries, no, of suicide remaining unchanged, no, and wala siya nang decline in early months of COVID-19. So it means to say status quo and rising pa siya, no, even in the context of the Philippine setting. Now, so much talk about suicide, no, even in our locality in Bacolod, Negros Occidental, there has been reports on uh, person or an individual who died by suicide, or a student, maybe you've heard news like that, no. So you might want to ask, no, what is suicide, why is it, no? What is the difference of suicide to suicide ideation, suicide attempt? um, we have here, no, from the practice guideline for the assessment and treatment of patients with suicidal behavior, it says here that suicide, by definition, it is self-inflicted. So when we say self-inflicted, um, there's a decision made to inflict the pain or inflict harm to the person. So self-inflicted death with evidence. So either it could be explicit, very obvious, or it could be implicit, not that the person intended to die. So it means to say, when you say self-inflicted death, it goes through a different ways of planning, and suicide really will not occur just overnight. No? It has root cause. Kung i-trace back mo na siya, may ginhalina na, may ginpreparahan na siya. Okay? And when we say suicide attempt, what do we mean by that? Suicide attempt is, of course, from the word attempt. Self-injurious behavior with a non-fatal outcome accompanied by evidence. So there's also evidence that will likely uh, move or more likely connect to the suicide attempt. So like for example, no, if the person, usually mga attempts, syempre if you could see mga ano gani, mga marks, no, mga marks, no, on the hand, or keeping of medicines, or like bulong, no, to ano pagid, keeping tools that can be used, no, to harm the self. So it could be a gun, or it could be anything fatal. All right, so suicide gestures, now this mean that similar to suicide attempts, except there is no attempt to kill oneself. So more likely there are people who would just, think about harming the self, but not eventually successfully um, doing it. So these are example. This is suicide gesture. Suicide behaviors, it encompasses a broad range of acts. No? It includes suicide attempts, gesture, threats. Maybe you could say that tomorrow, no, gusto ko na, no, gusto ko na madula. No? I felt so trapped and everything. No? And even suicidal thoughts. So these things, the suicide attempts, gestures, threats, and suicidal thoughts, these are example of suicide behaviors. By the way, may I come back a little bit lang, no? Sa suicide gesture, at some point, um, we also call this non-suicide self-injury, or NSSI, which the person, no, felt the intensity of emotion at to the extent na numb ang nabatyagan niya, and that person would, try to think, no, of the self, no, to harm the self. Okay, risk factors. Why does a person would think of, harming himself or herself, diba? At some point, with all due respect, no, to those who've experienced or one member of the family had died by suicide, no, somehow there are ultimate question. There is an there is an ultimate question about this or the for the action, like why is it so? Actually, according to Suicide Prevention Resource Center, still, no, you can check, no, there are three major factors uh, that contributes to the thoughts of harming the self, no, or linked to suicide behavior. First is biopsychosocial, no? So it means to say, that's something to do with the genes. Like for example, when I say genes, I'm referring to um, the neurotransmitters, no, that's being passed on from one person, from the parent to the child, no. If the if the parent, or if the brain releases more cortisol or than the happy hormone, most likely it affects emotions, right? It causes depression. Environmental, these are the external factors. It could be friends, it could be family members, it could be circumstances, no, that affect or trigger a person to harm oneself or to more likely die by suicide. Sociocultural, the context of the or the impact of social, the community and the culture. If the culture encourages, or no, I won't say encourage, but if the culture is very open or wala man gid dyan, no, gahatag um, due attention when someone harms the self, then it also most likely encourage a person to do it, right? But if it's too restricting, it could be, but this is an example of the social cultural. So it could be the biopsychosocial, no. Biopsychosocial, I also remember, no, biopsychosocial would also mean the personality type, no, of the person, or the traits nga ara sa iya that more likely contribute to the thoughts or ideation. So tatlo ni sila actually. It could be an mixed clan, no? It could coming ka from ara nasa genes mo, tapos din pressure ka pa sa peer group mo, tapos ang culture mo hindi pa mo naka-supportive, very ano pa, when you talk about I need help, katabu pa, wala gina-accept. So these are these contributes, no, to the risk that a person may thought of, harming oneself. All right, so actually, there is also another concept, intentional self-harm. When we Inquirer, the Inquirer actually in 2021 post this article that shows intentional self-harm among Filipinos. So try to look at these statistics in 2019, 2,810. That's pre-pandemic, right? This is what I'm telling you, that 2020 doubled the number, or almost, no, damo na siya. So intentional self-harm. So by the word intent, ikaw mismo nag-decide, no, to harm yourself. So wala man nagsugo sa imo, ikaw lang yung nag-decide for that. All right? So along this talk, or like during this discussion, you might want to ask, no, there are some questions in my mind about suicide, and I want to know whether these are myth or this is a fact. So I have prepared a few lang, though five or six ni sila ka slides, no, on debunking, no, the myths about suicide. And I'm encouraging those who are in this virtual platform to please keep an open mind, and let's not be quick to judge, and let's try to, understand, no, the context of suicide and self-harm by debunking our suicide myths. One is, it is a myth actually, no, when suicide only affects individuals with a mental health condition. Diba? You might want to ask, di ang tao nga nag-suicide, Doc Don, may mental health condition gina siya dayon? No? So, Doc, okay, that's more of generalization and labeling, no, directly to the person without even understanding kung anong bala, di nahalin, anong trigger yung nga, anong amo na siya. Actually, no, the fact says that many individuals with mental illness are not affected by suicidal thoughts. There are individuals with mental illness nga hindi man sila suicidal, no? Wala sila suicidal thoughts. And not all people who attempt or die by suicide have mental illness. Make sense? So when a person died by suicide, it doesn't necessarily mean na may mental health condition siya, because a fact shows that not all mental people with mental illness would resort to suicide, or those who harm themselves by suicide, wala man sila yung mental illness. So what's the trigger? So hambal ta kagina bio, psychosocial, um, environmental, and the social cultural. So relationship problems, no, life stressors. Like for example, if you're facing a criminal charge or legal matters, that it's too much for you, too much stress. No, uh, it could also lead to thinking of harming the self, death of loved ones, the devastation or the illness, no, such as affecting mga ano na, mga let's say seniors na to, no. So most likely amo ning mga common causes why seniors or elderly people would likely harm themselves, no, because of devastating or debilitating illness. It could be from trauma, it could be from sexual abuse, it could be from rejection, and recent or impending crisis are also associated with suicidal thoughts and attempts. In my experience as a counselor, I do counseling with young girls who are survivors of physical and sexual abuse, and most of them, no, during the session would mention of harming themselves, of thinking about, dying, because my life has no meaning at all, why did this all happen to me, right? But they have no mental health condition, right? So that's one thing. I hope we are clear on that. Okay, sige, let's move on. Another myth, once an individual is suicidal, he or she will always remain suicidal. You might want to ask, Doc Don, kaya ang kilala ko, nag-try na siya, nag-attempt siya, o nag-harm siya sa niya self. Suicidal self. So, hasta na magtigulang siya. Suicidal man sa gyapon. Right, no? Actually, what's the fact there? Active suicidal ideation, I mean, is often short term and situation specific. So when I say active suicidal ideation refers to the thoughts, thinking about it. When I wish something, I will harm myself. No, there's an ideation in there. So active suicidal ideation, it is most likely short term. It could change along the process. That's why counseling or therapy are very important in this at this point. No, studies have shown that approximately 54% of individuals who had died by suicide did not have a diagnosable mental health disorder. And for those mental illness, the proper treatment can help to reduce symptoms. The act of suicide is often an attempt to control. Now, why a person would think of harming themselves or think of suicide? Suicide actually is an act, or the act of suicide is also an attempt to control the deep, very deep, traumatic, painful emotions, and even the thoughts the individual is experiencing. So it's one way of repression. It's a coping mechanism to some. No? Once these thoughts dissipate, or maybe malipat na sila, no, lain naman, or nangin busy na, or na-redirect na to some, positive coping, so it will also, eventually dissipate man, ma-change man siya, no? It could reoccur naman. Then, while suicidal thoughts it can return, they are not permanent. So, these answers to that question is, he will always be suicidal. The thoughts will return, but it depends also on the coping the person would likely have during the process, no, of suicidal ideation. So there are people, since I am a counselor by profession, and I do also do counseling, no, to all people in different walks of life, no. um, they would really are afraid. They most likely they would say, my client would say, I'm afraid that one day that these thoughts will also haunt me again, and I will resort to this now. But that's the reason. That's perfect when you do counseling and when you do therapy, because the counselor and the therapist, the psychologist, the psychiatrist will give you tools, no, on how to cope better, or develop positive coping, no, whenever the thoughts will come back, no, at least you know what to do, as compared to if you've not given any intervention, Right? Sige. Moving on. Number 3, let's debunk suicide myth number 3. Most suicides happen suddenly without warning. Oh, gulpi lang to sa iya, nabatian ko lang, nag-amuni, or ano na itong naglatabo, no? So, but basically, when we, as I've mentioned, no, suicide is intentional. So, when you intend to inflict harm to yourself, it does not happen overnight or ginapaminsar, ginayano. There are warning signs. That's the reason why family members or friends, peer group, or even no, the community at large, we have to be very mindful of the warning signs. Although, ma'am, kati wala ko gidyan na notice, no? Wala mo gidyan na notice. May changes na, yeah, it could be verbally or it could be behaviorally sa iya nga pamatasan, no? It's actually, no, when a person changed drastically, no, in behavior, verbally or behaviorally, no, that's most likely it precedes most suicides. So, may mga warning signs kita. It's not true na wala warning signs. Basi, wala mo lang nakita, Mayo, or wala ka lang naka-observe. Therefore, it's important to learn and understand the warning signs. So, what are the warning signs? Later on, I'll discuss now what are the warning signs, are the signs that you need um, to look out for para maintindihan mo nga, ha, dali lang gid, do naglain na ni how. Many individuals who are suicidal may only show warning signs to those closest to them. So, syempre, sa atubangan, as ang iba niya hindi man close sa ila, okay lang na sila ya. Kamusta ka da? Okay lang gid kuya miss. Kamusta na sa naged? Okay lang kuya miss. Pero per me siya gali ka sweatshirt, no? Kay gali gusto ya i-hide ang mga marks sa iya mga hands. No, things like that. So, but to their loved ones, kung ikaw loved one, imposible nga hindi mo ma-notice nga may mga changes sa behavior. Not unless if you look the other way nga hindi mo gusto sa pako, no? That's one thing. That's why, no, in this talk, if we have here, no, family members na doon may ano na kamo pala, may duda, ala, please take a closer look, no? Because it may seem like, no, the suicide was sudden or without warning. No, it's not true. It should have no warning signs. May mga warning signs in it that we need to look. All right. Number 4. Are you still with me? No, medyo gabugat ang aton nga discussion, no? People who die by suicide are selfish and take the easy way out. So, this is actually a common misconception when someone would say, I want to get out of this situation by harming myself, for example. So, ang tendency natin is to judge the person like, mo, grabe, kay mo, ya ka selfish, mo, you're only thinking about yourself. No, daw mo nakisama batian ta, wala mo kami ginapaminsar nga imo ginikanan, what would we feel? No? Pero when a person is into really, no, seriously thinking about harming themselves, hindi na nila mapaminsaran, no? Anong kakapaminsaran nila? Don't you think hindi na budlay sa ila? Mas budlay man na para sa ila, no? Typically, people do not die by suicide because they don't want to live. No, that's a fact. So, kisa mo naton judgment, ay, hindi ka na gusto mapatay, o sige, you want easy way out. Pero actually, no, typically, people do not die by suicide because they don't want to live. People die by suicide because they want to end their suffering. They just want, no, one client of mine would say, I just want this to stop. I just want this to end. And I think there's no other way. I think there's no other way. No, thanks. So these individuals are suffering so deeply that they feel helpless and hopeless. No, that's where the counseling, the therapy, the family support, the friends, no, genuine friends come into the picture. Like, if they feel helpless and hopeless, where are we? No, para mag-help siya. Dapat ara no, because at some point, when they think, no, individuals who experience suicidal ideations do not do so by choice. They're not simply thinking of themselves, but rather they're going through a very serious mental health symptoms due to either mental illness or having a life situation. I want to give emphasis on that. It's not necessarily nga may mental illness siya, but this person, di ba la, if someone is doing his life, living his life, like in control siya, then one time, butangan sa crisis, nag-trigger, may trauma da siya, and the like. So most likely, no, grabing impact sa iya nga paminsaron, sa iya nga balatyagon, sa iya nga ano pagit sa iyang, sa iya psyche, no? Sa iya self. So most likely, it's really more of, that's very judgmental, no, when you tell someone nga you're just selfish, no. But anyways, no, what we hear, especially parents would talk, no, sa amo na ng mga cases. But that's why gina-emphasize nato, no, let's just know that to hindi lang tamaan ka close-minded sa aton. Let's try to, maybe it's helpful more than anything else, to ask the person, to tell the person, rather, remind him or her, whatever happens, I'm here. I'm willing to listen to you. Okay? What else? Talking about suicide will lead to and encourage suicide. Now, this one. So, like for example, like when we talk about suicide, like in this session, basi maka lead, no, or encourage sa iban. No, actually, it's more of a stigma. Now, there is a widespread stigma associated with suicide, right? When we hear a person die by suicide, in our culture, no, in our culture, most likely, ginatago ta kay we feel, well, studies would show, no, may ara siya guilt that leads to shame. No, guilt nga, anong ginubra ko, am I kulang ko bala, no, that leads to shame, nahuya ko nga nag-amo ka to, or nga nag-amo to ang member of the family. So that's why it's more of a hush hush, right? Pero whether we like it or not, we hear stories, time and again, no, of suicide cases, right? So many people are afraid to speak about it. Actually, that's one also, one challenge, no, in our mental health advocacy when we talk about topics like this. No, so we are opening doors, and also asking help to people, no, uh, to somehow be open-minded, no, when someone tells you about what he or she is feeling or experiencing, no, I think it's best also to refer, kung hindi mo kaya, refer to experts, refer to psychologists, to counselor, to psychiatrist, so that the person will have the necessary help na kinanglan niya at that time, no. And also we need to really rethink, no, our opinions, and share, let them share our story, with others. We all need to talk more about suicide, no, because if we, syempre, when we talk about it, we also open ourselves or our mind into ways on how to prevent it, no. Awareness also leads to prevention. How can you prevent something when you are not aware of it? So this activity is also timely, when we talk and discuss about suicide. Right. So of course, I am one with World Health Organization in in this statement that suicides are preventable. Why? Well, as I've mentioned, no, I'm a counselor, and I've talked to different clients, and yes, I have experience, I have talked to clients with not only ideation, but really harm the self, no. Thankfully they were able to ask help, and some of them are yet bit struggling, but gradually they are recuperating and trying to live their lives, no. And also, that's also giving me an affirmation that what we're doing as mental health professionals uh, are really helpful for the community, especially to people who has this suicide ideation or thinking about harming themselves. So yes, suicides are preventable if the family member, if you really know how to observe or how to detect the symptoms and how to refer there. Okay, now you might want to ask Doc Don. I know I know someone, and I'm afraid that this someone might or more likely harm himself or herself. So, what are the warning signs that I need to look at to para mabalaan ko gid, no? At least mabuligan ko siya, no? Actually, this one is from, no, East pathworm is a mnemonic that we need to familiarize with, and in case, no, you want to help someone who's thinking about harming himself or herself. So one is ideation, no, the thoughts of suicide. It could be expressed, it could be threatened, it could be written. You, most likely you would hear sa mga news bala, like after harming the self may ginabilin nga mga ano gani suicide note, no? Actually, when you try to check on the things sina sa person na nga nag-harm sa self niya, no, sa most likely may mga symptoms, may mga sulat man na before, no, that suicide note surface, no, thoughts of suicide. Like example, a person would really say nga, this is so tiring. I just want to end everything. I just want to die. So if there's a vivid description of harming the self, even not vivid description, basta maski mention niya lang, we have to take it seriously. We don't just put it aside or maybe laugh at it. No, we have to really consider. If the person said nga, sige, tonight I'm going to kill myself. No, maybe you could tell the person, okay, you want someone to talk to, you want me to refer to someone who could, you can express your feelings and emotions. Ideation is one sign or one warning sign. Okay. Second, substance abuse. So it could be increased or excessive alcohol or drug use. So if the person is permi lang into drinking or into drug abuse, aside of course first kung may mga suicide ideation sa tapos grabe pang inom niya sang gina ano niya self sa alcohol or drugs, no, illegal drugs. So that's one signs also. Another one is purposelessness. What do we mean by purposelessness? So seeing no reason for living. This is so common with people who plans or has ideation of harming themselves. No? Most likely they would say, my life has no purpose. I feel so trapped. There is no meaning in what I do. I don't feel like going to work. May mga amo na kind of, it seems my life has no purpose at all. So seeing no reason for living, having no sense of meaning or purpose in life. I happen to have may na-report lang sa ako na wala ko siya na-meet gidya in counseling. Pero gin-report sa akon sa family member na ang ila ko nung himata, no, hindi na magwa sa room, ang suga, instead nga ti pasigaw ng suga ginapatay lang ang gusto niya dark lang gidya, no, and everything, no. So dumay amo na siya nga meaning gulpi lang, no, the ideally, no, human as we are, we live mas meaningful ang life kung kabalo to sang purpose na mo. So people who would likely harm themselves or thinking about suicide, they would not look at ang life that way. No, they see life as no purpose at all. Anxiety is one, no, feeling anxious, agitated, nightmares, inability or excessive sleeping, no, that's one thing that's very important man to take note. So ang ilang feelings bala of looking at things, no, permi lang sila overthinking, permi lang nakulbaan, no, permi agitated, so nightmares maybe because of trauma and the like, no, and well, very very obvious mostly, no, hindi ko katulog, no, whole day ko nga gapaminsan, hindi ko katulog, no. So that's also one thing man ang dapat lang tawon naton. Okay, another one, feeling trapped, no. What is trapped, no? What is the context of feeling trapped? Feeling as though there's no way out of current circumstances. So there are people who would really think nga this is my way out na lang, wala na kung hindi ko di mag-go through by that. So wala na sang ibang way pa. All right? So another one is hopelessness. So what's the difference of purposelessness and hopelessness? So I've mentioned, no, when you say purposelessness, it's giving meaning into your life, no? Kung ano ginobra mo, anong meaning sina. Hopelessness is feeling hopeless about oneself, others, or the future. So most likely, they see no future for themselves. Even, clients, when I ask clients, I would, where do you see yourself after, 2 years or after this session? Or let's say a year? I don't know. I just don't know where I'm going, or wala ko kabalo kung diin ko, basta mo na, no? Or at some point even, no, wala sila sang vision, clearer vision for the future. So that's one thing man, kinahanglan ng tahon mo. Or may gahambal na siya, amo na ala. So let's proceed to warm. Is path warm. Warm is withdrawal or isolating from friends, family, usual activities, society. So, like I've mentioned earlier, kung family member ka, kag wala mo ni nga notice, no, nga nag-withdraw lang sa gulpi, wala na sa gagawa sa kwarto, wala na sa gapaligo, wala na sa gasturya sa inyo, wala na, no. So, from the usual activity, especially to the activities nga nanamian niya, nag-stop lang siya gulpi, no. So, may withdrawal. So, basically, no, that's a sign that you need to really okay nga ahaw. So to start questioning nga ahaw, no, anger, no, feelings of rage or uncontrollable anger, seeking revenge for perceived wrong. So if the person is angry, no, may mga kaakig, no, kaakig. Yeah, most likely ang kaakig na not necessarily sa iban, but sa kaugalingon, no, sa self nila. Okay, recklessness or acting without regard for consequences, excessively risky behavior. So recklessness is one sign that we need to check on someone nga harm thinking of harming the self. No, acting without regard for consequences, matabok sa dalan maski wala ka lantaw sa salakyan. Or maybe kung drive na lang nga wala kabalo kung stop sign na to gali o diretsyon lang sa yan o recklessness. And lastly, mood changes. So dramatic changes in mood or unstable mood, no? Wala joke, hindi man kakaladlawan sang storya, pero siya ya tuloy-tuloy ya kadlaw. Pero may mga persons mga amo na. Pero ang point ko, mood changes in the context of other pagid nga mga signs. Okay, ilamp na nato no. Check na may ideation na to subside check. So grabe niyang pag-inom niya sa alcohol, check naman. Paano kung magstorya siya daw wala na meaning ang life niya. So na permi lang siya agitated, no permi lang anxious. Doon daw feeling niya daw wala na siya guaan sa circumstansya niya. Wala na hope nga magbalikay sila liwat. Hindi na siya kung gusto mabuhay sa future, no? So on and so forth. So, compilation of these things, no? And you would realize, ay hala, ara na. So, what to do next? So, if all these descriptions fit to the person nga gina-refer nimo, ano da sa himuon mo? Okay, so very important. Now, in our practice, we do use tools to assess suicide. No, some of the tools I have only shared here too. No, one is Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale, and yeah, we also use DAS or the Depression, Anxiety, and Stress Scale, no, in relation to checking on the suicide symptoms. Okay, now this one is from the Bayanihan Wellbeing with the Unilab Foundation. No, I really like this part of their presentation that they showed how to ask about suicide. Di ba la? When a person, when you hear your friend talking about harming the self, kung kaisa do, ikaw mismo do, una ka pa na nervyos, or mabatian mo, hala, ma-suicide. So, anong nihimuon ko? Na? That's the reason why it's good that you're here this afternoon with us. So, una, gid ko, don't panic. Siyempre, normal naman ako kalbaan ka da, pero don't panic, relax lang. So, if the person will say, okay, tonight, I'm going to harm myself. So, hindi ka man magpanic. But Diyos ko, tantanan to. So, get comfortable, feeling uncomfortable, though the news about it is very uncomfortable, especially kung hindi ka man yan na-use to deal with cases like that, crisis nga muna. Siyempre, hindi ganyan comfortable sa imo, do wala ka kabalo. Basi karon din ako katulog, kay gusto ko na lang siya updan. No? So, get comfortable, feeling ko uncomfortable. Create a safe space. That's very, very important. If someone talks to you about harming the self, create a safe space. Maybe if the person is a minor, please call the parents. If the parents is the trigger, often then kung kaisa mo na mo nang hindi nila kaya ang trigger parents, you call for next significant others para ma-endorse or para maka-create safe space iya. Sino sa mga tita niya ang do close niya nga pwede niya mistoryahan. Okay, rapport building. Yeah, we see to it that this person sees us as someone that can be trusted, right? So rapport building is very important. How to develop rapport, syempre, maybe you can ask, have you eaten something? Would you like me to stay here? If you need me, I'm just here. If you want someone to talk to, I'm just here. Pero kung naghambal na siya nga mo na, no, please, hindi gid pag ipalayo ang imong panulok sa iya. Dapat may upod gid siya, no? Or maybe kung sa balay man, no, ang family members dapat may salitan to look after the person. Active listening. So it's not only listening, but active listening. Like for example, syempre give ka yung feedback no, like kung maghambal siya mo na, although hindi mo gets kung mo na ba siya ganyan, but you can say no, I may not understand or hindi ko, I'm just here, yeah, I listen, no. And accepting and validating feelings at that particular moment, the person is accepting, not judgment, no, of the feelings. So you validate the feelings. Yeah, I understand that you're hurt. I know that you feel so insulted. I know that you're pressured right now. Reflecting on possible alternatives. So while doing that, you think of anong next na nga alternatives sa iya, no? Maybe you could recommend to the expert para at least hindi siya masyado makulbuan. No? Pursuing each alternative, no? Pursue each anong options niya. Summarizing of the things that you've, nastoryahan ninyo, and knowing when to refer to outside professionals. No? One time, I received a call from two counselors, young counselors in a high school, and they reported that they would want to refer a student nga manablaga think about harming themselves. So siling ko, I think it's best that you refer first to psychiatrist, no. Pero paunang lunas kito hindi gid sila ya mapakali. So siling ko before sige. Right now when you book, no, this is reality. When you book a schedule with psychiatrist, I'm sure you will wait no for a time para ma-accommodate because of the grabing mga cases, hindi grabe but medyo damo ang cases. So well, in that particular situation, so they brought the child, no, and we talked. And actually, the child is a minor, and I told the counselor, please call the parents. No, it's very important when you're dealing with minors, the parents should be there. No, para at least you can discuss no alternatives not only with the child but with the parents as well. No, even sa adults, no, kung sa adults mo man, no, I happen to have a case nga adult naman siya, pero dapat may nanay, kay may endorsan ka para may ma-follow up sa ila whenever magabot na sila balay. Right? Summarizing of the things that you've discussed and knowing when to refer. So it's best good to refer to psychiatrist, no, kung grabe, psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, therapist. Okay? Now, I would like also to share this advice. This is just very practical advice from Mental Health Foundation. It says here, wait. Now, so how to prevent suicide? Wait. One, watch out for the signs of distress and changes in behavior. So watch out for the is path warm. Watch out for those signs and changes of behavior. So you can also ask, are you having suicidal thoughts? Are you trying to harm yourself? No. So kung dark na ang thoughts nila, are you having dark thoughts right now? And you can also assure the person, don't worry, it will pass. No, assure your loved one that with help, their suicidal feelings will pass with time. Because especially kung active suicide ideation sa, no, tomorrow it might not be that particular, that intense. No. In one session I have attended with, it was solution focused therapy and suicide. One of those questions ay napamangkot gani, no, like, is there any time of the day na wala ka na minsar of harming yourself? Okay, it will also bring them to their senses nga ay hala, oo gali no, sa bilog nga adlaw sa 24 hours may dong mga 30 minutes ko pa lang man siya nadumduman, tapos wala naman, the rest of the day wala man. Okay, that's also no an affirmation, it will pass. And talk to others. Of course, I'm sure that talk to others is quite broad. I want to contextualize this, no, that when we talk to others, we talk to other people that we trust, that will not judge us, no. And when that person is a loved one, of course, it's given nga palang I accept, i-validate ka. Kung hindi, kung wala, of course, please refer to health professionals. Okay? All right. So this one is a reminder, no, to all of us. Next time, if if those people in the virtual room right now who feel so stressed, no, I don't want to do things right now, kahit ito nakapoy gid ko, no. So next time you're stressed, I want you to, very simple things to do. Take a step back, inhale and exhale, and laugh with friends, laugh with people that you like laughing. Remember who you are and why, no, the meaning, the purpose, who you are as a person, and what is the meaning of your existence here, no, why you're here. Maybe your mom needs you, your friend needs you, maybe you want to prove something to the world. No, what's the reason you're here? You're never given anything in this world that you can't handle. That's an assurance, actually. No, you're never given anything in this world that you can handle. It's also biblical, no? One passage in the Bible would say that the Lord will not put you in one situation that He will not also give you a way out, right? So same, no? You're not in this situation, or you're not in this given anything in this world that you can't handle. You can handle it now. Be strong, be flexible, very, very important. In self compassion, I would like to remind everyone loving yourself is very important, and love others as well. Okay? Always remember, just keep moving forward. Just keep moving. No, just don't stop moving. Just keep moving forward. Okay? Is that clear? Sige. Because no, at the end of the day, you alone, you matter. Really, really matter. No? The reason you're here, there's a purpose. There's maybe God put you in that situation because of some reason that you do not know as of now, but in the future, no? So you have to remember it is okay not to be okay. This is always a reminder, no, from us, from mental health professionals. It is okay not to be okay. It is sometimes hard to admit that you're struggling. Sometimes we don't want to talk about our struggles, our challenges. Okay, nahuya kita nga i-judge kita nga weak kita, hindi kita kabalo. Vulnerability is just the other side of the coin of being courageous. When you're vulnerable, you're giving yourself a chance to heal. You're giving yourself a chance to be brave again. So there's nothing wrong with being, vulnerable or weak or struggling. It is but part of our human existence. So, but if you don't tell anyone that you need help, di paano kami kabalo? Paano kami makabulig? No one will know. Paano kabulig imo parents? Paano kabulig imo friends? If you will not say that, I just need help. I want someone to listen to me. No? So ask for help. Please ask for help. Okay? And to those nga hindi yan nila kinala ng help, pero may kilala nga kinala ng help, please, stop the stigma. Please. No? Please do not stigmatize people, put labels on people who are really kaka-challenge na gani, struggle na gani, i-label mo pa da, no? So this is the reason why so many people with completely treatable conditions now suffer needlessly, and sometimes, wow, tragically, end into harming themselves because they are afraid of the stigma. So as much as possible, that's why I'm reminding each one in this group, everyone in this virtual room, please stop the stigma. Let's help one another. Okay? And yan, semicolons. This is the end of my presentation before the question and answer. The heart, the semicolons always bring hope, right? Hope that the story isn't over yet. Hope to the ones who choose to fight instead of ending it all. So instead of discouraging the person, instead of blocking or maybe judging, I think it's best to, sit down, listen, open, your mind to possibility of helping the person. That person really needs an assurance that he or she is safe, with you. Okay? And you have to affirm also it's not easy to fight a daily battle such as mental health issues or crisis. Okay, all right, so semicolon is a reminder for all of us here to stay strong, everyone. Hang on there. Your story isn't over yet, so please stay strong. Okay, if it's very difficult na, as always, I am reminding you to breathe. Breathe, inhale, exhale, reflect, pray. No, cast all the burdens to God. No, it's just a bad day, but definitely not a bad life. Okay, so yan. Good. With that, I end my presentation to give way to our question and answer. Miss
Thank you
Omega.
so much. Yes, Doc Donna, thank you so much for that meaningful discussion that you have shared with us this afternoon. And to our virtual participants, let us not miss the chance to appreciate the insights shared by Doc Donna by giving him or her a virtual reaction. You can like or hit that heart button. Please feel free also to comment your insights regarding our topic, and we would like to hear it from you guys. Now let's deepen our understanding on the topic. We shall have an open forum, so please stay on live stream for our open forum. Doc Dana, are you ready? We will
Yes,
be
I
having our
am.
two
I
guests
am
for today.
waiting.
Yes. We will be having our two guests for today. So let's roll the carpet for our featured guests. Our first guest for today promotes mental health. She believes that mental health is an important part of your well being because your body cannot function well if your mind is not healthy. And I bet that she is super excited to converse with our speaker today. So without further ado, let us welcome into our virtual stage Miss Sally Carmantio. And yes. And for our second, hello, Miss Sally. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Doc Dana, Miss Meg.
Yes. And for our
Hello.
second guest, she is a graduate of Bachelor of Arts in Psychology at the University of the Philippines. She is also the acting guidance counselor of NOLITC. She involves herself in many active community works in helping the less privileged people. Indeed, her existence is a big impact on the lives of society. Our second guest for today is none other than Miss Redon Lorente.
Thank you, Miss Meg. Good afternoon, Doc Donna and Miss Sally.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good
One thing
afternoon.
actually, one thing that strikes me the most
Mhm.
during the presentation of Doc Donna is that when she said, "Life is meaningful if we
Yeah.
know our purpose," and I love that. I really wrote that quote because I like it, and that's true, right?
Yeah.
We always go back to anong purpose mo, di ba?
Mhm.
Yes.
Right. So
Exactly,
let's
Sally.
proceed to our question and answer. We have here question number one for Doc Donna. Really wanted to know your thoughts on this. What is the right thing
Mm.
to do if we see a post on social media of people or friends who are saying that they are contemplating of committing suicide?
Right, no? Actually, damo na most of the time makita ta na no nga mga posts, especially to some of our friends. And as mentioned kaginas nako no sa science bala sa
Mhm.
ideation, so we don't take it for granted. So kung friends ka mo sa Facebook kag maka-message kasi in private, you can do that. And maybe you can tell that person, if you need someone to listen to you, I'm just here. No, do
Mhm.
ka it's actually sa amo na nga point, they need more ano mo affirming words. They need na someone nga may ay lang may harap ako gali friend nga mamati pa yes akon.
Mhm.
So we don't judge no, and we don't say it's just for kisa mabalta nga do acting lang na nila no. That's very insensitive thing to say,
Mhm.
especially to someone nga nagambal ako gani, di ba? Ara ba lang sa
Yes.
social media ako sa ganiging butang para so it's not nga ala gimbutang mo na like social media is our also digital self mo, it reflects us. So kung
True.
i-post mo na siya, it's also us. So like putting yourself in that platform, telling somebody or everyone that I need help, I think
Mhm.
that is a brave thing to do man. So kung ikaw
Mhm.
nakabasa, you really need to take it, seriously, man. And if you're a
Mhm.
friend, please message a friend. Kung hindi mo kaya, you can message your friend na pwede mo siya i-refer sa, psychiatrist or psychologist or counselor, to the expert.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
Thank you,
true.
Doc Donna.
Yeah, we never know. Maybe that's the last their last straw.
Yes, that's very true.
They just want
Oo.
to vent it out because they don't have anyone to talk to.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and thank you for that answer. Miss Sally earlier shared that she got an insight from your talk. No, actually, a lot of you have shared a lot of quotable quotes, Doc Donna, and for me, it was you said earlier that it's just a bad day, but not a bad life.
Yeah.
It
Mm-mm.
really speaks a lot, no? Because emotions and our situations can be, it's not permanent. So,
Yes. Mm-mm.
something like that. So, thank you for that one. And for this second question that we have, Doc Donna, what is the best advice to give to people who are saying that they feel trapped?
Okay. Trapped. No, this is the only way out. No, I feel nga wala na iban, no? Ari diri lang gid amo lang gid ang way out, wala na ko iban nga guan. That's common gid, especially to the person, common thoughts no of a person nga ara sa amo na nga situation no of they're contemplating to harm themselves. So what's the best thing to say? No. Um research shows no even in the solution focus therapy they would really highlight nga amo na lang line of questions nga sa bilog nga adlaw what is the time nga wala mo na ginapaminsaran sorry ganun. So basically, if that person feels trapped or felt trapped in a situation, there is one point in his or her life nga hindi siya trapped. So
Yeah.
kung gastorya ka sa iya, pangitaon mo lang na wait, how about in the morning ginapaminsar mo man na or maybe in the afternoons, how many minutes gina-spend mo para lang gid makapaminsar sa mga bagay. Pero that's very difficult man mo nang kung saan may timing man na mo kay they would really generalize things, especially those people nga naka-feel bala nga wala na ko di iban nga way out amo lang gid ni generalize na nila. So kung ikaw ang ginastorya nila, mas nami na siya nga i-highlight mo ang mga bagay or ang mga times na wala mo gina-feel, wala niya ka-feel nga gina-harm niya iya self. Yan. Leading.
Yes,
That's
okay.
interesting.
So, gakaurungan ko sa imo.
Actually,
Gaka-overwhelm.
hindi nga topic, hindi lang ni siya, this is bugat siya nga topic. That's why we're really
True.
taking extra cautious man no, sa
Mm.
pag-handle sini. Pero the questions are really relevant gid. Okay?
Amo na gani ka ano gid. And actually kanami because nga we are also being educated, wala gina-educate na taon how are we going to deal with this with the people nga
Yeah.
mga naman later on, they're suffering palgali. And yes, let's proceed to our next question. What kind of questions can we ask if you are worried about their mental health nga in sila mo?
Mm. Basic question, when was the last time ka naligo?
Ah,
Oh,
really?
So actually, no, joking aside, no, when we talk about mental health or well-being, it's not only looking for the physical everything, but the basic is of course on how the person takes care of the self. So
yeah.
that's why sa anong last time ka naligo, how many hours ang imo sleep, anong last mo nga meal, na the basic amo na ang question. So kung let's say if you know someone, syempre kung obvious gid siya nga physically no, most likely gusto ko pa nga gusto mo pa no nga apa mo mo pa siya. No? Maybe you can say na are you okay? You need help? Do you need help? No. Pero nang usually makita mo na iyang symptoms before you could even ask the person mo. Nga
Yeah.
daw,
Usually,
something is
yes.
wrong, no? Like for example, one time, I have may isa ko ka-friend, gidalay sa ako ng isa ka person. Sila niya, nagsulod ni siya sa akon nga sa akon classroom. Tapo, wala pa gali kasulod. So siling niya, please talk to this person. Siling ko, okay. So paglantaw ko pa lang initially, syempre sa bayo, kag sa paghambal, sa giyo, sa action, makita mo man mo nga, something might be wrong. Sige, istoryahon ta lang anay. So pamangkot, diin kalin, ano nga ari ka din all. Ang pamatiano pa lang iya nga coherence, no? Sang iya storya, na wala ga inangot, wala bala sense out. So kag hindi amuhaw, hindi angot daw. So most likely makita mo man, obviously mabalaan mo man even if you're not an expert gid no. But basically kung ano nga question ang i-ask mo siya, maybe you can ask do you need help? Do you want someone to talk to you? It seems I have observed, no, amo na pwede kay kambal, I have observed that nag-change ang imo behavior from this, though you're quite agitated, kadasig si mo mga akig siguro, do you need someone to talk to you? Wala lang na, para safe ka sa iyang, hindi siya ma-offend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Ba siya, pwede, nagka-crisis lang, nagka-problema lang sa heart, hindi man gid nga mental health issue. Pwede man ako lang. So careful man na.
Yes, that's a really good question and answer from you as well, Doc Donna. No, basic questions, but in really basic answers to those questions. But in relation to that question, is it okay man I had to ask someone like directly are you having suicide thoughts or suicidal ka? Can we ask someone about it? Or is it insinuating them to commit suicide?
Let me put it this way. There are times when a person mentions like, I think I'm going to harm myself. I think ako professional. So, sa amon, basta mag-pension amo na, ang next na question amon, when, where, how. Kaya gina-check ta ang, di amo na kung ano ka-vivid sa iyang plano. If that's the case, call na dayon ang someone or, kung family member to really, ini nga person, hindi mo pagbulagan sa imo panulok. Kung magtulog ni siya, mas namin may upo sa room or anything na pwede makaharm sa iya pang taguuna, pang ano na. Okay? Normally, no, sa mga, like, kung wala naman sa nag-mention about harming the self, like, categorically, pwede man na iya nga ati, question ka lang nga something makalid nga. Kung hindi magid mahambal, pwede kay kambal. If you think of harming yourself, and if you think of harming yourself and you need help, I'm just here.
Yeah.
You can count on me. Kaya kung kaisa wala man nila diretso ginambal. Pero may
Most of the time,
yeah.
and most of the time, may fear man sila to share.
Yes, to be judged, yeah. So, amo na, aside sa ideation, gani, ang sa ideation sa ila lang na iya mo thinking of harming the self. Pero may iban man nga mga signs nga dapat kita, nga person, nga makita ta sila, aware kita. Kay para ma-refer ta na dayon. Or maybe pwede na, palapitan mo lang siya, maybe na-notice ko bala, doon ka different sa mga behavior. Do you want gusto mo i-refer ta ka? Or gusto mo, sabi ang refer do ka, i-refer, hindi ko yun dayon. No? Pwede man, I can be here. No? Listening really can change a life. It's a lifesaver. Especially sa mga tao, feeling nila wala sila ginapamatian. So it's a lifesaver.
So yeah, exactly, Doc Donna. Thank you for that answer. And we move on to our next question. Okay, so can a risk of suicide be inherited? Is it that genetics?
Yeah, inherited because of I've mentioned earlier sa akong presentation, meron ata psychosocial. So genes could be one, no, and napapasa, and triggered pagid siya kung ang external variable, environmental, di ba, ang factor, environmental factor, no, are very contributory pa sa iya nga nabatyagan, and ang society, no, so yeah, pwede siya ma-inherit.
Really?
And even pag even ari pagid na kung may ara sa family members nga nag-die by suicide, ang exposure to that also could be maka-contribute man siya, no, of thinking of harming the self.
So how are we going to prevent that, Dokton? Like, for instance,
Well,
para
oo.
ma-prevent mo sa future generations bala hindi siya magkaroon.
Oo. Ah, suicide suicides are preventable, di ba? I would like to really believe on that because because of my experience man with my clients, with my clients who would, think of or have thoughts of harming themselves. Na prevent man mo, pero amo na nang in the context bala of na namamana siya gali, not necessarily no ang pag-suicide, pero ang mga ang hormones or ang the neurotransmitters no nga napapasa sa aton. Let's say kung more siya ga-release sa cortisol, no, more leading to things like uh, amo na ng depressed moods and the like, no. But basically, paano to gani, how would you, ano gani question mo, Ma'am Sally, na
Prevent.
lost ko dito sa risk,
Prevent.
binabalik. How
Prevent.
prevention is better than cure, no? So it's best to let the person feel that he or she is not alone. How to do it? Just be there, even not saying anything. No, your mere presence is also enough. Mo. What else? Encourage the person to have long-lasting and meaningful connection with people. That's one thing. Recall ko pala sa mga experiences ko, usually mabala sila nga wala ko friends. Pero may friends na, galing, ang pag-consider sa friends, ang qualities ng friends na. So, it's good nga encourage mo kung bata pa. Encourage to create lasting and meaningful experience or social connection with friends or other people. Prayer is also very important. Spirituality is very important, especially in the context of suicide. There are questions that you need answer, and there are questions nga hindi masabat sang tao sa palibot mo. No? And you would really wait, no, for that intervention, divine intervention, para maintindihan mo ang mga meanings na nakatapoy sa imo eh. No, nga even si psychologist pero sa amo sa mga counselor hindi na namo masabat para sa imo. Pero if you have a relationship na bakod no sa Ginoo, I think no the hopelessness and the purposelessness and those feelings no mas mamagaan na siya. Pag mas maintindihan mo.
All right. So you have mentioned, Doc Don, about the exposure can also lead to that, the exposure to suicide incidents. So which lead us to the next question. What does suicide contagion mean? And
suicide contagion, no, it's if most likely, no, when you are exposure to acts of suicide or even no, especially kung family member. No, so tako na siya nga factor. So what can be done? So I think it's best to, if it happened to a family, it's best to have a family therapy. No, para at least maistoryahan, no. There are also cases nga natabo sa school. So that's why no psychological first aid is also important, especially to the ones nga na-expose. Dapat ma-process ang ilang mga yung ilang mga emotions at that particular moment nga nakita nila para to prevent happening to anyone again.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Doc Donna, for your insights. And do you have any parting message to our audience that you would like to share?
Well, I would like to believe that life is precious. Life is a gift, and it is not for us to decide what to do with it. So it's more of taking it, no. We have to be accountable, responsible, and loving it, no. So as I've mentioned, presence. It means to say, a present is not something nga kinanglan exploit or something nga kinanglan ruin, no. We have to preserve it. We have to enjoy it, and we have to put more meaningful experiences into it, no, para mas ma-live ta siya in a way, no, nga mangin beautiful siya. The world right now is really threatening. I am not naive, no. Ma'am, ka grabe ang mo naka-beautiful pag lantaw mo sa life. Pero lantawa pa lang kalibutan sa mga very, very challenging, no. But if you have God, no, in your life, if if you are true, to yourself, and you have strong connection with your family members, with your friends, you will go, you will float, no. I mean bala, mas maano mo yung self, mas mabuligan mo to be someone, um to be someone na mangin bakot, no, mas courageous, mas brave, mas thriving. I'm not saying nga hindi ka na masakitan because sakit, pain, vulnerable, part of life, but it's more of trying to look at life realistically. No, that in life, when we deal life realistically, we're happy, but at some point we are sad. But we can go from sadness to happiness again, no, or happiness to sadness, and that's okay. The more, as long as you get out of bed every morning, have your morning coffee, talk to your friends or true friends, laugh, and respect your own life. And I think that's what matters.
That's wonderful.
Thank you
Yes.
so much, Doc Donna. Yes, we have learned a lot from you this afternoon, and we
Hindi
are very
budlayan, hindi ko
thankful
ba?
for your time. Yeah, it's quite heavy actually, and
Yes, yes,
we
yes, yes.
even, having a hard time
Yes,
even
yes,
asking these questions, and of course, giving our own opinion on certain matters, because
yes,
we are not expert in this, and we are
Mhm.
grateful that you are with us to have
Yes.
this talk, and hopefully this will also help our viewers out there to be aware of
Mhm.
suicide, right? Thank
Yes.
you, Doc Donna.
Thank you, Doc Donna.
All right, so thank you, Miss Red, as well, for joining me here. And I guess it's time for us to turn you over to Miss Omega.
Miss Omega. Yes.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you so much, Dr. Donna, and to our guests, Miss Sally and Miss Red. Allow me also to thank our audience who are attending with us online. I especially would like to thank our speaker for sharing her well educated insights and expertise in the 13th episode of NOLITC Cares webinar. We would also like to give out the certificate of appreciation to our guest speaker this afternoon. And we would also like to express our profound appreciation to our virtual audience. So, this certificate of appreciation is presented to Dr. Donalyn G. Lastima for sharing your valuable expertise and commendable service extended as resource speaker in the NOLITC Cares webinar. Your story isn't over yet. A suicide awareness and prevention talk. This 10th day of November 2022, virtually via Facebook Live and YouTube, signed Dr. Maria Cristina Arbicido, Vocational School Administrator of NOLITC. Thank you so much, Doc Donna. We have an exciting lineup of speakers waiting ahead. Catch our NOLITC Cares webinar that will be live streamed via NOLITC Facebook page and YouTube channel. I would also like to emphasize how you can get a certificate for this webinar. Please provide us your evaluation through the link provided in the description box below. Do this right after the webinar ends. Your email address should be typed in correctly. Be careful with the spelling of your email address so it won't bounce back. The evaluation site will be opened until 6 in the evening. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes our NOLITC Cares webinar. Stay safe and take care. Keep smiling and stay strong. NOLITC Inspire, NOLITC Cares, Avance, Nigrense.